The audio is recording this time, baby.
We got audio this time.
Those two blonde guys are going to come in and just smash our computer.
That's awesome. Check out the TikTok.
Or I guess we're recording now.
No, okay. What's the sting?
No, I don't know. We'll just keep going until...
What's the sting?
Ooh, puffy shirt. I saw this guy on TikTok yesterday. Try and do that.
Whoa.
Introducing the Little Giants Podcast, brought to you by Highlight Hub,
Hosted by Elder Gallison.
and Joey Riccatoni.
Sting!
Yes!
Hey! Episode
we're
15!
15.
Didn't think we were going to get a sting, but we got
The
it.
perfect number to end the podcast on.
Nope.
This will be our last episode.
Absolutely not. We are going forever. We're going until we're monetized so I can buy a new pair of headphones, baby.
Until then, we're rolling with the broken
The
ones.
end game is $350 for a new pair of Beats.
And one more microphone.
Yeah, so then we can really do the farewell episode. How you doing, pal?
I'm good. Good weekend of football. It was fun to watch.
It was a good weekend of football because both the Browns and the Chargers won.
I mean, the Chargers still made it too close for comfort.
Yeah.
The Jets got within 6 in the fourth quarter, and I'm like,
Yeah. Was it Flackstar or Darnold?
Yeah, Flacco.
Oh, okay. Whoo, poor fellas. Well,
But Herbert played amazing.
did he?
Yeah, 37 for 49, like 380 and 3 touchdowns.
Jeez, man. That's like, those are numbers that Baker has never pulled off.
I don't think he ever will. I don't think he's that type of quarterback.
No, I don't know, man. I mean, we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later. But it was a solid week. The picks were kind of all over the place. We had that whole fiasco last week with the audio, so the episode came out late. The clips, I only put one clip
Yeah.
out because it was just such a crap show.
I mean, I tried to listen to the podcast. The audio was so bad, I only got like 5 minutes in, so
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys hated it just as much.
I mean,
That being said, we still showed up. We deserve credit for that, so give us the attaboy, please.
thank you. Appreciate my brother watching every week and getting the views pumped. My older brother, not my little brother. He sucks. The thumb with biceps, as we like to refer to him. The German milk boy. But thank you for listening. That's the cool thing. It's like the numbers on YouTube. It's not quite reflective with the podcast stuff, but the numbers on YouTube are like growing for the actual full episodes every week. And like the clips are getting like in the 50s. For
Yeah,
views and
sometimes
stuff.
they catch on.
Yeah, so we're gonna keep pumping them out, and yeah.
Tell your friends. Tell one friend. If you're listening to this and you don't know us personally, tell one friend. That's all we ask.
That's it.
A friend who likes funny people, likes football, and likes
Handsome.
some uninformed takes.
Yeah.
Every now and then.
Because we have some uninformed takes to review regarding one Mr. Wentz.
Well, that's your uninformed take. I was right about him all along. I'm wrong about the Eagles. I will say that.
What was your take on the Eagles? You
That
thought
they would end up winning the
they're
division.
still number one.
I know, but it's just they're so bad to watch. Like, I thought Carson
Yeah.
Wentz might be able to have a good day against the Browns. He looked awful.
Yeah, but the pass rush.
The Browns' defense is no joke. I'm not saying that because the Browns' defense sucks. I'm just saying
they're middle
like,
of the pack. They're middle of the pack.
yeah, but they've
think.
got a lot of talent on there where guys can kind of like make impact plays, like Taki
Sion,
and
Taki.
Miles Garrett
Taki.
and Denzel Ward and like
Yeah. Well, Garrett didn't play, but Olivier Vernon finally.
oh yeah, he had 3 sacks.
3 sacks, but that's another thing. It's like, do you attribute that to him, or is it because Carson Wentz holds onto the ball forever? But there's a lot of things like,
That's just football. There's so many things happening at once, you know. You can't take away from the fact that he got 3 sacks at the end of the day.
for sure.
You know, and a safety.
but the thing with the safety, like I was thinking, it's like that's going to get chalked up to Carson Wentz, and it's like, yes, he can't be holding the ball in that situation, but also it's on Doug Pederson calling those plays. It's like, get your boy
I mean, I've
out
seen
of the end zone there, you know?
I saw a report that said Howie Roseman, like the owner of the Eagles, is like really upset about what's happening with the Eagles right now, and he's like, if there's not a turnaround, there's going to be a lot of changes in the new year.
Heads
so
rolling.
So I think if the Eagles keep this up and don't kind of pull it together a little bit, Pederson and Wentz will be gone. Well, actually, Wentz just signed a contract, but Pederson will be gone.
We'll get to his contract in a second, but I was just going to say, with that safety specifically, it's like, it's one of those things where, yes, it's on Wentz. He has to get rid of the ball in that situation. It's also on the play calling, but also it's special teams. Like, it's a full team game, because on the punt that pinned them on the 2-yard line, the punt returner could have flagged the ball and had a fair catch on the 10-yard line, but he let it bounce behind him because he thought he'd get a touchback. Browns defenders run past him and down it at the 2-yard line, and then you're backed up.
I think that's just kind of bad luck, though, because as a punt returner, are you not taught to, like, you plant your feet at the 10 and you don't move backwards. You let it bounce.
Right, but that's the thing. It's like the ball hit at like the 10.
Yeah.
So it's just, you need to have some situational awareness of, it's like there's free gunners coming downfield. I need to catch us at the furthest point from the goal line, because, you know, so yes, it's a little bit of bad luck. It's just a bad season overall for Philly, but it's a team game, and that, it just goes to show football is just such a team game. It's just a butterfly effect and a domino effect. Like, everything ends up affecting someone in some way, and then you end up having one or two guys shoulder the blame for everything that goes wrong, right? But with Carson Wentz's contract, just the loose research, this is semi-uninformed, but I'm pretty sure with the contract he signed, if they cut him, it's going to be like a $20 million cap hit of just dead money if they let him walk. So they really can't move him, and no one's going to pick up that contract. So if anything, it'll be the Brock Osweiler thing.
Yeah, someone send Wentz and a pick for someone to just take that contract.
Wentz and several picks, which with the Browns, that turned out to be Denzel Ward and Nick Chubb for those moves, which were like, you know, those are two of the guys, you know, holding a lot of the responsibility for that win in that game. Nick Chubb wasn't getting it going early on, but dude, that guy just like, keep feeding the beast.
That's the thing with running backs like Nick Chubb, like tough runners. You just keep giving him the ball.
Right.
He's gonna wear defense down eventually, and like, even though Kareem Hunt maybe had like 1 yard rushing, he still like made a big impact with that touchdown run, and
that's crazy.
He still caught a couple passes, and so I think I liked what I saw out of the Browns. To be honest, like, Philly's defense is still decent. I don't know where they rank, but like, you would think they'd still be decent, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, again, Baker didn't really do much.
He didn't do much.
Cordero Hodge, you know, he had a good game.
Our boy Hollywood Higgins had a big catch in the game as well. But one thing to talk about Baker, because we got those Baltimore fans, we got to be fair and honest. Even though I'm a Browns fan, Baker, dude, I was freaking out mid-game. Right, my brother, I'm saying, he sucks. We got to get him out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I texted Cody that he sucks too.
Dude, because the Browns drive down the field, and he looked good that whole drive. Like, he was making throws. You know, he's running a little bit more than usual too. And then they're on the goal line. He has the underthrow to Harrison Bryant, which ends up getting them a PI because Harrison Bryant had to turn around and jump up for the ball, and the corner just ran right into him without looking back. So they get another shot. 2 plays later, they go play action again, and Austin Hooper's running a little corner route, and Baker just completely overthrows the ball this time. So it's like, right, we need that ball somewhere in the middle of the two that you threw.
and Baker's whole thing coming out was like, he might not have the biggest arm, he might not be the most athletic, but he's accurate.
Right.
And he hasn't been the last 2 years.
Right. I think it's like he does
it all comes down to his mechanics. He like throws everything out the window too quickly.
Right. Because he doesn't settle and climb the pocket a lot of the time. Or I think when he's throwing seam balls and out routes, he's money. Like, he's, because he has that like really like torquey ball on him where he can just step into it and like almost like baseball fastball style throw and just whip it down the seam and keep it low enough where it's not going to kill his guy running down the seam. And with the out, it's like when you're throwing an out as a quarterback, you push to the sideline, right? Because you can't leave anything inside for a corner to undercut the route. And I think those are two things he does really well. But in general, it's like he misses easy plays that he needs to make. And it's like they're 7-3. You don't mix up the formula, and if they go to the playoffs,
you don't pull Baker or anything like that. He hasn't played poorly enough to pull him. You just hope that he can kind of put it together,
right? And I think it's if his teammates still believe in him, then they're going to keep playing hard. And I think if you made a decision to move on from him or draft another quarterback next year, all the players like Jarvis Landry, like Nick Chubb, all those guys would be like, what are you guys doing? It's like, we're working well here. This is our guy. Versus with Philly, it's like, I don't think they like Wentz. Like after the Foles trade, they were like, let's keep Foles. Like this is the guy that won us this thing. And there were a lot of, I think it was Michael Bennett might have been the leak who was being like, we don't rate this guy, basically, you know. It's that Toronto slang.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't think Carson Wentz has the confidence of his coaches, of his teammates, and I think the Eagles are very close to making a switch to Jalen Hurts. That's my gut feeling.
Right.
I think if he puts together like 2 more bad games, but they're still in the playoff hunt and still at the top of that division even, I think they give Jalen Hurts a game. Just to see.
Right. I think, like, here's the thing. They're still in a position now where they could, and I don't know if the season's going to get to a point because everyone, like, all the records are so low in the NFC East. I don't know that there's going to be an opportunity to be like, we don't have a chance anyway, we're going to save Carson.
No, but I think that plays into them making a change. It's like the same thing as the Miami Dolphins. It's like, we're in this.
Right.
And, like, we're still in this despite playing so poorly.
Right.
What if we make a switch and that's just enough to spark the team?
Right.
Especially if Wentz doesn't have the confidence of his guys. Making a change might elevate that whole team.
Yeah. That it just... You know,
I don't know if it's the right move, but it might be.
I think that's a panic decision because if you can't move on from Carson Wentz next year unless you have someone ready to give you draft picks for his contract to just eat it, it's like that's going to be a real awkward situation for Doug Pederson. And then what are you going to do? Fire Doug Pederson? He won you a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. You know what I mean? So I don't.
They're in a weird limbo spot right now. Like It's like, like sometimes players and stuff have down seasons and like sometimes teams have down seasons. It's not like they've had it easy. Like they've had a lot of injuries to their team.
Right.
But I don't know, man. Like Carson Wentz, since he tore his ACL, has just not looked like that.
Right.
Dude.
Right. And I forget who was saying it, but it was a really good point that they brought up. It's like we've looked at Nick Foles within this, you know...
Nick Foles was not the answer either. I still take Carson Wentz over Nick Foles, big picture.
For sure, but the argument, I forget who it was, that they were making was like, we look at Nick Foles under this microscope. 13 games, he was impeccable, 27 touchdowns, 3 picks. Amazing. Do we start looking at Carson Wentz the same way? 1 season of 35 touchdowns, 4 picks, or whatever it was, or 12 picks. It's like, do we start looking at Carson Wentz that way too? Because that's really been the only thing. And I came out to bat for Carson Wentz. I think his talent is like...
He still has all the arm talent. He still is a huge body. You know, he's really mobile.
Yeah.
But he looks confused.
I think...
And he looks panicked out there. Like, the amount of turnovers he's had this year do not come from, like, full conviction mistakes, right. I kind of feel. It's like him, like, hesitating, and, like, that pick to Taki was, like, he threw a floater on a swing pass while getting hit. Like, just trying to do too much.
Right.
And I think that might be his issue right now is, like, he understands that the team is decimated and, you know, he doesn't have the same talent around him. And so he's just trying to do too much.
Definitely. But
this is the NFL. And you don't win games just off, like, fluky plays like that.
Right. But also, it's like, where has Carson Wentz's development been? Because what the Seahawks did with Russell Wilson, they ran the ball and played good defense his first 5 years. Like, when they won those Super Bowls, he made big plays. and all that, but for the most part, they were a running the ball defensive team. Where is that for Carson Wentz?
And
why are we relegating him to being this gunslinger? It's like he has those abilities, but you got to reel him in as a coach.
Yeah, and that's another thing with Doug Pederson. Like, the play calling has been bad. Miles Sanders is averaging 6 yards per carry.
Yeah.
And he has never had more than 19 carries in a game.
Right, and it's not like the game wasn't close. Like, I was watching that game being like, I hope they don't keep running the ball on us. Cause
he's a good running back. He's a really good running back, and they just don't use him.
And I think maybe it's in part we're trying to get Wentz's confidence back. We're trying to get him.
Then you run the ball and give him play action.
Exactly. You know what I think? This is a bold prediction. Not that I think it'll happen, but I think it would be an amazing fit if Pittsburgh picked up Wentz, had him sit behind Roethlisberger for the last few years of his career.
It's just the money thing.
Right, it's the money thing.
He would have to get cut. Like,
for sure.
Philly would have to eat the contract, and then Pittsburgh would have to sign him on waivers.
Definitely. But I think that would be an amazing fit because I think they're similar guys. Wentz is just more of like a 2020 version of Big Ben, because Wentz is the prototype of the quarterback of the future. He's the Josh Allen type.
Yeah, and you know what, though? I think to that same point, Jameis Winston in Pittsburgh would be really good, too, as a successor to Ben. I think both of those guys, you don't have to change the offense for them.
Right. It's just, I think it comes down with the Jameis thing, the leadership. I think that's the biggest hurdle, and maybe that's why Sean Payton didn't.
If Carson Wentz, if his Eagles teammates don't like him, what leadership qualities are you alluding to?
See, I don't know though, because you look at that, and this is like obviously all perspective.
Yeah.
I'm just saying with Winston and like his past, like coming out of college, there were a lot of conflicts arising, stealing crab legs from Publix. You know, like there's all those kind of things, and the eating the W speech was just a little bit
he's a weird guy. He's a weird guy for sure, but like...
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold him to stealing crab legs. Like, Cam Newton got kicked off the Florida team for stealing a laptop.
Definitely.
You know,
definitely.
it's like...
But
freaking kids make dumb mistakes.
Kids like crabs. And I just, like, when you see, like, a Russell Wilson, you know, even like...
he's different.
But
he's
even
like...
a Lamar Jackson, like, he's like... There's a calm coolness to him, you know what I mean? Where it's like his head is in the game and he's like locked in on what his coaches have to say.
Yeah.
And I'm basing this off of when someone was like, what do you think you can improve on next year? He's like, look at my stats. Like Jameis Winston was saying, look at my stats. What are you talking about? Like, I'm balling. I think he literally said, look at my stats. I'm balling. I was like, dude, you threw 20 picks or whatever.
30 picks.
30, that's insane. It's like, yeah, you threw 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns or whatever, but you threw 30 picks.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. With the
For sure. I'm not saying he's ready to, like, lead the Steelers to a Super Bowl.
I just don't think that's very Pittsburgh, that mentality. Whereas you look at Carson Wentz, and I don't think there is one iota of him being like, I'm doing the right thing right now. He knows he's in the dumps, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. I think it's also within Pennsylvania, that whole move, too.
Yeah, it's an easy...
You
couple hours,
down the highway, and you're there. But, you know... I think it would just be cool to see him in Pittsburgh because it's like that's a big wasted talent to see him just kind of fade away, and I don't think he will. He'll definitely get another chance. It's just a matter of like.
This is fun to speculate about, but in all honesty, I don't see the Eagles moving on from Wentz at least this year, at least for next year. I think he gets another chance. They just put money, like they just gave him the contract this offseason.
Right.
So I don't see them moving on from him. I think he's still their guy. It's just something needs to change there, and you know, they need to find some life, some spark,
definitely,
to get them going and to get them feeling good about what they're doing.
100%.
It's like the mopiest division leader I've ever seen.
Yeah, 100%. So speaking of mopes, sad things. This is not to call him a mope, but. Mopey franchises. Joe Burrow obviously out. Man, I was watching a video, a doctor just going through like the degree angle that his leg got rolled up on and stuff, and like I think they're saying like it could be ACL and PCL.
I think they said it was ACL, MCL, PCL, and meniscus. So like that's pretty much everything.
It's a bad one.
You're just missing the LCL. Yeah, it's bad. It's similar to Adrian Peterson's knee injury that he had with the Vikings. And I'm not saying Joe Burrow is going to have an Adrian Peterson recovery, because that was an anomaly.
Yeah.
To come back and rush for 2,100 yards.
9 yards.
Yeah. But I mean, with the state of like sports rehab right now and like orthopedic surgery, he's going to make a full recovery. It's just going to be a timeline. I've seen some reports saying like they might just shut him down for the 2021 season.
Why wouldn't you? Because look at what happened with RG3 rushing back.
Like, yeah, and like, you know what? You save him, you let him get completely healthy, and you get a high pick out of it again.
Right. That's like a thing. I wonder, it's like, do kids even know? Like young kids who are like 15 and stuff. Do they even know about RG3? Like that hype coming out of school and his rookie year, how good he was, man. It's like that was one of the saddest, like, devolving like injuries.
It was just time. Like, it was like burn bright, die young. Like he came in, he had one of the best rookie seasons ever. I don't know anyone who wasn't like a huge RG3 fan this year.
I got RG3 socks that year. The Adidas
same.
Ones that
the
said
no pressure,
no diamond socks.
Like everybody loved RG3 because he had like sick on-field swag, and he was
the
just
sleeve.
Like,
he was like the first sleeve dude. Maybe it was Johnny Manziel,
first single sleeve guy. Well, RG3
forget.
was before Johnny Manziel.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, like the single arm sleeve. He's just like so sick, and the way his
he was a good dude too. Like
and the way everything just kind of flipped on its head after his injury. You gotta really hope that doesn't happen with Burrow. I don't think it will, because he just seems like a pure pocket passer kind of dude.
Yeah, he like
good athleticism.
Yeah, he can still win from the pocket, but like that's an added dimension to his game. It's not an integral part of his game like it was for RG3.
Right. And I wouldn't, regardless, if I'm Cincinnati, I'm not getting him back on the field until we have a stud left tackle, because that was the left tackle that got beat, and the right tackle too, who like put the pressure over top of him, but the left tackle rolled onto his back leg, and then he just got torqued down. We're
gonna do our rebuilding franchises segment in the off season, but like if you're the Bengals, there are a lot of directions you can go with this, but I think shutting down Joe Burrow for the 2021 year and moving some of those like older guys like the safety Sean Williams or AJ Green for just extra picks, and just load up on young talent. Yeah. And put a great young team around Joe Burrow that he can build and grow with, and then 2022, see what happens.
Right. I could see a lot of people, especially in that division. I mean, Cincinnati's really the only one who isn't like a run-heavy type team. Yeah. And Pittsburgh, not as much, but like Baltimore and Cleveland, they're like double tight ends. Yep. Let's pound the rock, good rotation of backs. It's like in Cincinnati, it's like you got Joe Mixon, who's always injured, and then Giovanni Bernard and a couple other dudes rotating in the mix. And you traded J.C. Treader. It was J.C. Treader was on Cincinnati, I'm pretty sure. But regardless, their offensive line is not there. They do not have anything to protect Joe Burrow with. So you need to build that up, and once he's back, he's going to be rusty. So you're going to need a good running game.
So I was actually going to say to that point is like, even if you have Joe Burrow just on the practice squad for 2021, like so he can still come out and practice in shorts and a t-shirt, throw balls still, and not lose that. He spent a lot of time not playing in college. Right. And so that's something I think he's wired a little different where he's comeback. I think he's the right guy. He's got the right mindset and wired the right way to kind of be able to take a year off and then come back in and be better even.
Right, for sure.
I think he's got that kind of mental makeup.
Yeah, I believe it. I hope it happens, man. Because even being a Browns fan, it's just awful to see a young dude like that who's just defied all the odds. Like he wasn't even recruited really out of high school, and then he just goes, he wins the Heisman. You really pull for the dude, so it's like prayers up for that guy. But
and like from the small sample size we got this year, like we kind of talked about it last time. Him, Tua, and Herbert. That kind of looks like the future of the league. Right. You know, it looks like these three guys are going to be dominating the AFC in like 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, that's scary that all of those guys are in the AFC too.
Yeah.
It's like the NFC is kind of lacking at QB right now in general.
It's like Russell Wilson, Drew Brees is on his way out. I don't see him playing after this year.
No. Brady.
And then Aaron Rodgers got a couple more years.
Yeah. I mean, Daniel Jones is the keys to the kingdom right now, but...
Dak, when he comes back, he might be.
But that's our piece on Burrow.
And speaking of Tom Brady.
Speaking of Tommy Boy Braid skis.
That game last night.
It was a good game. Monday Night Football finally had a good one. Commentary's still the worst.
Yep.
What do you think is going wrong?
Again, it's that whole thing with Tampa where, like, they string together a couple games that makes you go, oh, wow, like, this team is putting it together. They're legit. And then they come out and lay an egg.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, not like they laid an egg completely, but Tom Brady threw 2 really bad picks last night.
I got something to say about that last one that sealed the game, though. That was such a bad play call, man. They're like, LA was running like 2-man. And they run like double seam and then 2 outs. It's like, attack the middle of the field, man. Like, they had so much room. They had over 1 minute and 30 seconds. And they take a deep shot like that. If you watch the replay of that, he had no check down across the middle of like nothing over the ball. He had nothing to work with. So he just fired a deep shot because that's the Bruce Arians long developing play style thing. And obviously... maybe just turf the ball in that scenario, throw it away, but...
And part of me thinks that's what Belichick was doing with Brady all these years, is like kind of reining him in and be like, just take the first down, live, like, you know, being ultra conservative. And then you have Arians who's like, coaches like he's playing Madden.
Right.
And it's just like a Tom Brady, an ultra competitive, ultra confident guy, you know, great receivers around him. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, let's play with our toys. Let's push the ball. Like, let's let our guys win. You know?
It is like a let's play with our toys thing because it's like, what are you as a team? Are you like the all-out pass attack thing? Or are you like the run heavy thing? Or a mix of both? Because they go on these strings of
they have no identity. Yeah. There's like, and that's the issue with like bringing so many guys that are like top tier talents and like household names into one team. Mm-hmm. In basketball, like you can do it because there's only so many roster spots, you know, but in football it's like if you're the quarterback you feel this pressure to spread the ball around, and like you saw it in Cleveland too. It's like, it's not like it was Odell's fault or anything, but I think obviously the time, like Baker was nervous and had to like get Odell his targets, and now Tom Brady's like, I need to get all 3 of these guys targets, and well, then you have Leonard Fournette, he's already complaining about playing time.
Right. Well, like, if you look at the Cleveland scenario, it's like they have 2 stud running backs. Tampa's, like, pretty close in the level of their talent as well.
Yeah.
But with Odell out now, it's like Jarvis Landry is going to go out there and block hard all game. He'll do that, and then Kadarius Hodge and Rashard Higgins and all the tight ends are going to be run blockers too, and they'll take their 3 catches for 70 yards. If Odell's back in, it's like, oh, we got to get the ball in his hands. He's a playmaker. Yeah. What are we paying him for? So they have that same thing. It's like, we got Gronk. We got AB. We got Mike Evans, who's like running that crew of receivers right now. Like, he is the dude. I still think AB's looking good, and Tom, I think he's probably a week or 2 away from like really connecting on a lot of those deep shots.
He's targeting him a lot. Mm-hmm. AB has 7 catches in the last 2 games, like each of the last 2 games.
Yeah, I just mean with like a lot of like the deep shots, Brady's kind of off still, I think. But what you're saying about the identity with Tampa Bay, it's like they don't have an identity. I don't believe that.
There's too many mouths to feed.
It's the whole, like, it's a passing league now. It's like, no, it's not. It's not a passing league. It's a league where you're seeing creative ways to run the ball, to throw the ball. It's like...
Yeah, it's only... it's a spacing league. Like, you just want to open pockets of the field, whether that's in the running game or passing game. Like, the school of thought where it's like, oh, you need to get the running game to open up the passing game. Like, I think at this point in the NFL, it also works in the reverse order, where, like, you can start passing the ball and get the defense kind of spread out, and then you can run from the shotgun, right? Like, that's how a lot of teams do it.
Right.
And I think the Tampa Bay offense has, like, all of that potential.
Right.
It's like Ronald Jones rushed for 192 yards the week before, and I barely saw him last night.
Right. And again, the game, they had a lead at some points in that game. Yeah. So it's like, why are you not pounding the rock? I know you're dealing with Aaron Donald, but still, he's going to be there in the pass game as well. There's a lot of opportunity to be running the ball in creative ways too. It's like, you don't just go draw, dive, counter, off tackle. It's like, there's other ways you can be moving the ball. It's like,
and it's like, I think Bruce Arians' offense is kind of like, it's a passing offense, but it's an old school passing offense. It's like that run and shoot, like it's like a Warren Moon type offense. Right. You know, it's like so many vertical routes, and that's just not the way the game is played right now.
Yeah, it's like, get AB and Chris Godwin running crossing routes and stuff, and let those guys just dump the ball into those guys' hands 5 yards down the field. Let them work. You know, some of their biggest chunk plays would just be little hitch screens right off the line to AB. Like, he had 10 yards on one of those. It's like, you can do things like that, but also limit the amount of time that Brady's having to drop back. Because it's like, also with another team too, I'm sure he doesn't fully feel comfortable with the offensive line either, especially with a rookie left tackle. So I feel like the longer he's standing back there, he's like, okay, gotta make a decision. Yeah. So the whole blend of problems is just making it tough for Brady. I think they will figure it out, but they do need to adjust the way they're running their offense in terms of the long developing stuff, because that last interception, like, go look at it. Awful play call for that scenario. Bad throw, but worse play call.
Now, all this to say, I think the Rams are a really good team.
Definitely.
I think the Rams are totally back in the picture. That NFC West is heating up, where you got Seattle at the top, you got Arizona right behind them, and you got LA right behind them.
Yeah.
And it's a dogfight.
It is, and
those divisional games, the rest of the way, are gonna really matter.
Right. Yeah. And we were talking about it since LA lost to Miami.
Yeah.
That was it, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, people were like, I guess the Rams are figured out and they're done. McVay's creativeness doesn't mean anything anymore. And it's like, dude, it's like they're fully back. I saw a stat come up during the game last night. It was like Jared Goff is 42 touchdowns, and 3 stops or something like that in the red zone. Like, that's insane.
That's play calling. That's finding a way to create spacing in the red zone, which is one of the hardest things in football to do because everything is so congested.
Right, and look at who they're doing it with. Robert Woods. Not a huge name, but
cast off from Buffalo, right?
From Buffalo, who owns the middle of the field with crossing routes, divide, like climb, stair steps, that kind of stuff. Cooper Kupp, great after the catch, technical route runner. Tyler Higbee, solid. It's like
Gerald Everett, solid. Running back by committee. Like, there's not like a marquee name on that offense anymore. Now that Todd Gurley's in Atlanta, you know, Brandon Cooks, I guess, was like their number one when he was there, but now it's like Cooper Kupp is obviously the number one, and I think he's criminally underrated.
See, I would lean more towards Robert Woods being the guy there. I think he's just such a all-around tough dude when he's running with the ball.
And maybe like leadership wise that's true,
because he is a captain.
But Goff looks for Cooper Kupp in like pressure scenarios.
Yeah. Definitely. I think you got your possession guy. And
they're a great pair of receivers either way. But that just goes to show Sean McVay can work with anyone.
Definitely. And, you know, like we always preach, play to your players' strengths. And that is the most important thing. So Bruce Arians, play to your players' strengths. stop it with the ego, man. It's like, excuse. It's really like...
It's like you have Leonard Fournette. Line up in the I formation every now and then and just pound the ball.
Yeah, it doesn't need... Sometimes you just gotta bring it down to the toughness factor.
Yeah, don't outsmart yourself.
Yeah.
Like, football is a physical game. Play it physically.
Right. Because even with the creativity that Sean McVay gets credited with, it's like, it's still basic football when it comes down to it. It's just pre-snap motion to make it seem complicated, you know? So, I mean, whatever. That's it on that one.
Take it from us. We know how to win in the NFL.
Exactly.
Okay?
We've been doing it for years. So that's that. Bring it into the next segment, my dear, and explain what's going on, because I kind of was confused when you were telling me.
All right, so they just came out with the Hall of Fame list of candidates this year, like the finalists, and it is a stacked class. So I suggested a segment where we list off a bunch of names. You can only pick 5. You got to pick your 5 of the Hall of Fame class.
All right.
Joey will do some work in post to kind of throw it up here so you guys can see the whole list of names.
He's on there.
I can't believe he made it.
He could go all the way.
Yeah. But, yeah, so just to list off the names that everyone kind of knows, because there are some of the older era guys on the Hall of Fame list too. But
Jared Allen, Peyton Manning, Calvin Johnson, Reggie Wayne, Fred Taylor, John Lynch, Patrick Willis. John Lynch, really?
Yeah.
Patrick Willis, Charles Woodson, Hines Ward, Torrey Holt. A lot of big names.
That's a loaded class, and those are like the guys that we grew up on.
Right. Definitely.
You know?
So, I mean, John Lynch, Torrey Holt, slightly.
No, I mean, I remember Torrey Holt with the Rams.
Definitely remember, but I just meant like when we were in high school. Like,
oh,
that's
yeah,
the
they were like when I first started getting into football.
Yeah, when we were in high school, it was like that. The first 4: Jared Allen, Peyton Manning, Calvin Johnson, Reggie Wayne. Like, those were the guys.
Yeah. So, do you want me to start off with my 5 out of that list?
So you're picking your 5 that you would put in out of this list of dudes.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Go for it.
All right, so obviously I think Peyton Manning's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I think we're both on the same page there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Calvin Johnson, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to argue with his resume, even though he only played 9 years.
Yep.
If you're talking about Peyton Manning, you can't talk about him without Reggie Wayne. Like, Marvin Harrison's already in the Hall of Fame. So if you're sending in Peyton, send in Reggie Wayne too, because he was that dude in Indy. Charles Woodson, another obvious one, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's just one of the best. He was the best corner in the league for a while.
Yeah.
And then he got old and slow. And then he moved to safety and was still, like, a top-level safety.
Right.
And the last one, Patrick Willis. I think this is the iffiest one because he was so dominant when he played. But, again, he had a shorter career.
Mm-hmm.
And he retired the same way Calvin Johnson did, like really early, really abruptly. But I think his last few years he was kind of banged up, and so he didn't have a strong tail end of his career.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think I'm going with Patrick Willis.
Man, like, he's like, I feel like he was the last, like, Luke Kuechly was pretty in there for the kind of like the classic linebacker, but was also fast enough to be playing in the modern game. But Patrick Willis was like Ray Lewis with a lot of speed. I mean,
I remember those San Francisco defenses where it was Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman.
Dude, it was crazy.
Like, that was the best linebacker tandem I've ever seen.
And you throw in Alden Smith when he was a rookie, and then,
Justin Smith playing
the 3-4
Kyle
Smith.
Kyle Smith was the receiver that lost them the NFC Championship game to the Giants.
Oh, okay. I played with a kid named Kyle Smith too. But,
or no, that was Kyle Williams. Sorry.
Kyle Williams, right. But yeah, Justin Smith. That team was ridiculous. But that's a good list. For me, I'm going, obviously, Peyton Manning.
Of course.
Obviously, the Sheriff. Calvin Johnson. Reggie Wayne. Jared Allen.
Jared Allen was a beast, man.
Single season sack record.
Yeah.
He still has it, right?
I think so.
Or did J.J. Watt break it? I don't think...
No, J.J. Watt didn't break it. I think
Michael Strahan had it, and then Jared Allen.
Yeah, Jared Allen has 22 and a half.
Yeah.
And I think J.J. Watt got 22.
Yeah, so Jared Allen, I mean, when he was in Minnesota, he was a friggin' Chevy, you know what I mean? Like, he's not...
Yeah, nothing looked like crazy athletic on him. He wasn't a super athlete. He wasn't that big. He was just like,
drive.
And the mullet.
Just an absolute animal. He also had one of the best retirement videos of all time where he rides off into the sunset on the horse. It was amazing, so I got to give it to him.
He's living life on a ranch now.
Exactly. But just, you know, you look at guys like that, you look at the freaks like Myles Garrett, who's like, you're a robot with muscles, you know, and you're so fast off the line, and you look at a guy like Jared Allen,
like just like a dumpy white dude,
you're a beast, man. So
yeah.
I mean, not for all those reasons, but obviously his career is exceptional, but I would have to put Jared Allen in there on the 4, and then for the 5, see, man, I think I gotta go. I think I would go... man. How is John Lynch not in there? I don't get how John Lynch is not in...
the Hall of Fame. Because he's been retired for more than 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, he's been waiting a couple years now, at least.
So, I feel like for that reason... you gotta give it to him, because I think Patrick Willis and Charles Woodson, those guys are also exceptional, but they're just on the 5-year window. Like, they would be first ballot if they went in, right?
But I think Charles Woodson has to be a first ballot, man. Like,
but why?
He was one of the most dynamic defensive guys in the league.
Yeah. John Lynch won a Super Bowl and was integral in that position.
Charles Woodson was like the defensive player of the year.
Got injured in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's not his fault he got injured in the Super Bowl. He was still a big part of that team.
Right. Fine, Charles, you can go in.
I mean, pick who you want, but...
See, this is one of the things where, like, we need video to be like, well, let's watch these side by side and talk about it, but I would, you know, okay, Go
with your gut. Go with John Lynch.
John Lynch needs to get in. Lynch needs to get in, because that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
they'll have the rest of their life, because John Lynch is not only exceptional football player,
he now has done insane work in that 49ers front office.
Great as in
after the whole Kaepernick stuff, and once they moved on from Kaepernick, that Niners team was terrible. They had no talent anywhere, and the way he was able to turn that team around in like a 4-year window is crazy.
It is, man. Back to the Super Bowl. So I don't know if they're factoring that in, but I just think in general, I gotta give it to John Lynch there. So that's who I'm going with. Jared Allen, Peyton Manning, Calvin Johnson, Reggie Wayne, John Lynch.
And just to reiterate, I'm going Peyton Manning, Calvin Johnson, Reggie Wayne, Pat Willis, Charles Woodson.
Yeah, the Pat Willis one's tough, but any young linebackers out there listening, watch Pat Willis, dude. That guy is just next level.
He was like the Myles Garrett of linebackers, of middle linebackers. Like, just, if you were to like close your eyes and be like, what's the perfect middle linebacker? Like, give me all the qualities of a middle linebacker that I would want.
Yeah.
That's Patrick Willis.
100%. And then you watch stuff, there's like this stacked video, that workout website, and it's called Patrick Willis's homegrown workout. He's like, you know, I don't really follow a workout plan. I just kind of come in and push myself and like do what feels good. He's just like doing like curls and like dumbbell bench and all this. So it's like, you look at guys like that and you're like, you're just innately a freak and amazing. And it's like, imagine if you put like that care that like a Tom Brady, or not that he should be doing elastic band workouts or anything.
Body by bands.
Yeah. Hey,
Cody.
This guy. He's body by bowls of Taco Bell. But, you know, you think about a guy like that, if they invested in their body the ways that the LeBrons of the world and all that do.
It's kind of funny, because the knockout blow in Pat Willis's career was
turf toe, wasn't it?
Yeah, turf toe.
Yeah.
It's like, obviously, at a certain point, like, you just don't like feeling banged up all the time.
No.
And you kind of gotta, like, you gotta have a screw loose to play football.
Definitely.
And sometimes, like, you see like these freak athletes, but they're a little too rational to be all-time greats because they're like, oh, wait a second, I've had like 8 surgeries in 5 years.
Right.
What the hell is going on? Maybe I should stop playing football.
Definitely. I remember my dad told me, basically, I forget, I was just like kind of banged up one day, and my dad was like, as long as you're playing football, you're never going to have a day that you're not feeling hurt. And I was like, truer words have never been spoken, you know? It's like, I
don't think people really understand, unless they've played football for a long time, that like these guys in the NFL, their bodies every week feel like oh,
I'll beep it again.
Thanks, man.
But it's so true, dude. I remember just after one training camp, it's like the level in high school is like, there's something where it's like the speed and the strength, it's not all quite there, but you go through one day of your first training camp and your arms are all bruised. Like every little piece is just like getting grabbed. And it's just like, that's just like a non-factor. It's just like, you looked at it, you're like, oh, I don't know how that got here. And then it's like, you can't walk because your ankles are so swollen from just like running so much. I remember getting out of bed and not being able to like flex my ankles for the first 10 minutes that I'd be up until I was warmed up.
My knees were always just like so stiff when I would wake up and like,
my knees! And then I fall on them. Oh, good times though. If you're not playing football and you still can, go do it, because there'll never be a better time in your life.
And there's no better character builder. We're great guys
100%.
Because of football.
Every guy that I know that played football is more resilient, more focused, and not overall, but in general, like...
Yeah, like as a whole, I think that goes for any elite sport, but really football, where it's like you have to be able to push through your body telling you no a lot.
Right, because there comes that
like the
day.
mental toughness that comes with playing football for a long time and at a relatively high level. Mm-hmm. Like I think it's super important.
100%. And the last thing I'll say, it's just like there comes that time, and this is in homage to all these guys that are, you know, have gone to the Hall of Fame now. It's like, in their honor, it's like, you got to realize, it's like your third day of training camp in your first year of university, you will doubt yourself more than ever. And that's the cutoff line where a lot of people's careers just end forever because they just can't stand it anymore. They can't handle the grind.
Like the amount of dropout after like the first week of training camp is crazy.
It's insane.
The amount of guys that are just like, no.
Right. And rightfully so. So it's like, for these men to go, you play high school, university, and then 15 years or so in the NFL, 10 years if you retired early.
Well,
it's like, it's unbelievable.
Tom Brady's 42 years old. He's probably been playing football for like 35 years.
Yeah. His whole life.
That's insane.
Yeah. And just that level of dedication is unprecedented. So it's like, that's what the Hall of Fame means, and that's why only 5 guys can make it. You can't dilute it. And
I think it's 7 guys total.
7? Okay. Well,
but they pick 2 old era guys.
Well, our Hall of Fame, it's 5.
Well, we have the modern era here.
Yeah. Whatever.
That's the episode.
That's it. We're rambling. All right. See you later. Check out how
Respect is earned. Roofside. The Little Giants. Your team sucks, see?